Hello, everyone, and welcome to Broker's Playbook. This edition, we have a very special guest, the esteemed Ontario Real Estate Association CEO, Tim Hudak, who has also had an impressive 20-year political career. We are so happy to have you here with my co-host, Simeon Papaelias with REC Canada. I am Laura Martin, COO of Matrix Mortgage Global and Director of CMBA Ontario, of which my opinions are not counted towards today. And I am so excited to start this. Let's do this.
Every time we start off with riders, it's a good start. Tim, welcome to Broker's Playbook. We're so honored to have you, and I can't wait to have our audience get your insight. It's such a timely time. Everything that you're working on has really recently just bloomed and it's coming out. So there's lots of stuff that AREA has done for the real estate agents. Welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, of course. Simeon, Laura, good to see you both. Thanks for having me on Broker's Playbook. It's great to connect. I thought, though, Simeon would pitch me Broker's Playbook. It sounded kind of like a Las Vegas thing, like a gambling show or something. Hey, I'm up for that. I can't get back to Vegas now, so yeah.
Okay, so our next guest is going to be a bookie. Good call.
Totally. It fits when I broke his playbook. Yeah, I'm going to place a bet on the Bills and all that. So,
I mean, like, if the Raptors can win, why not the Bills?
In my lifetime, please.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
I really wanted to kick things off. I mean, we have a massive win in the real estate industry as professionals. I've been a real estate broker for 15 years, and the first thing I was told when I got into the business is watch your taxes. We are the only professionals in the province that are not allowed to incorporate. So everything you take in is personal income. After 15 years of me watching OREA, TREB, CREA, all the bodies kind of working together and rooting for Ontario realtors, because in many other provinces, they are able to incorporate. But in Ontario, we weren't. So the PREC, the PREC as we call it, the Personal Real Estate Corporation, has just been launched as of October 1 of this year. So I wanted to congratulate you for spearheading this for some time. It's a massive victory for realtors. Thank you for all your hard work. Laura, I know you wanted to know, like, how did this go down? Tell us a little bit about the journey and how you got this thing to the finish line, Tim.
Man, well, Simeon, thanks for the kind words. You're absolutely right. This was a long time coming, more than a decade on the wish list, advocacy for REIT, because it wasn't fair, right? I mean, other professions, mortgage brokers, accountants, lawyers, doctors, dentists, like name any of them, they had this tool called a personal corporation, which enabled them to have tax savings, to split income with family in some circumstances, dividends, survive the ups and downs of the market. And it was unfair that realtors didn't, because quite frankly, the work that a realtor does or broker does, helping people with the biggest purchase of their lives, something so personal as their home where they raise their family, right? That has a huge impact on ordinary Canadians. So it was wrong they did not have that tool. It wasn't fair. And quite frankly, work is more important than some other professions do that had that tax benefit. So I can get lots of details here, Laura and Simeon, on how we got it. I just want to say thank you to shows like yourselves that covered it, talk about the importance, our realtors across Ontario who contacted their MPPs, and those that are volunteers for the boards that set aside their profession to go to work to help out other realtors in those one-on-ones, the premier, the minister. A lot of detail, a lot of work here, have to get into it, but we got her done, and I'm really excited about it as of October 1st.
Yeah, man, that's incredible. I know, Laura, the dynamic that me and Laura Martin have is one of cohesion because of the industries that we're in. She's the CEO of one of the biggest private lending houses in the country, let alone the province. And everything that they do is hand in hand with what we do. So when COVID came around, we see a lot of lending, we see a lot of real estate transactions and pent up demand after the first lockdown and banks being timid. So we saw a lot of that action and a lot of consumers looking for alternative financing. All this activity is happening. Now, all that activity is governed by the Real Estate Business and Brokers Act, 2002. The PREC, the Personal Real Estate Corporation, is all part of the TRESA initiative, which is the Trust in Real Estate Act, which is going to replace REBA, not amend it, correct?
That's right, yep.
Tell us a little bit about some of the consumer protection that this is going to provide. When we're speaking right now to 90% of our audience are industry professionals, mortgage brokers and realtors. I think both need to know what TRESA is all about. And I think for us to give value or more wholesome value to our client, what are the key factors that are going to help our client be better protected in 2020? What has changed in the last 20 years that they need protection from?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when that legislation was written, and by the way, I happen to be the cabinet minister. Laura mentioned my 21 years in politics. I was the guy that brought REBA through. To answer to your trivia question later on in 2002.
Full circle.
Yeah, you guys both had diapers on back then, but I was in politics.
No, but I did like the Spice Girls. So,
which was your favorite Spice Girl?
Someone just asked me that recently. Sporty.
Yeah. Sporty was a good one. Might have been my favorite too. And Posh too. So what was the question? About Spice Girls? No, 2002. So look, 2002, the average price of a home in Toronto was like $240,000, and you couldn't find a place for your dog for $240,000 these days. The iPhone was not even invented yet. That was still 5 years away. Social media didn't exist, right? This is the world that we lived in. So REBA reflected 2002. We wanted to get to 2020 with TRESA. And why? Well, we want to raise the bar when it comes to professional standards. I think it's the number one thing for realtors and brokers, to raise the bar when it comes to ethics, professional standards, enhance consumer protection. The transaction of buying a home has become far more legalistic. You have to recognize that. Make the code of ethics stronger. And, some other details in there. Well, personal real estate corporations, that was number one on the list. Changing advertising rules. So you can use the term realtor or broker or real estate agent. Because honest to goodness,
instead of just salesperson.
Exactly.
That was so restrictive.
Yeah, and a salesperson maybe sold me this jacket or my shoes, right? A realtor sells me my house.
Good
a lot more. The advocacy behind it, the research, recognize that. Also, specialty certifications like lawyers have. So you can say, for example, you're a commercial realtor and has something behind that when it comes to education. I don't want to go on and on. There's more, but the other big major one is giving the regulator RICO a greater ability to go after the troublemakers in the industry. Higher fines, a greater ability to suspend licenses, to revoke licenses altogether, stop people with splotchy careers from even getting into the profession in the first place, and to move faster so they go after the bad guys instead of worrying so much about paperwork and crossing the I's and dotting the crossing the T's and dotting the I's. So that's four major parts of it, and there's more to come, but it really takes our real estate framework and makes us North American leaders instead of people trying to catch up.
So I think a really good point, and this is a conversation that I had with Laura earlier today in preparation for this interview, is RICO being able to enforce harder is reactive, which is necessary, no doubt. People need to know that there's consequences to ill intent in bad faith in your transaction. But I think the biggest thing, and what I'm the biggest fan of, is the reform in the education component, meaning that it's not a 5-step online course. It's not that easy to become a broker or a realtor as it used to be. So it was, if you look back to 1980 and 1990 and 2000, there was always this escalation in expectation, but you've taken it to a next level now. OREA has discontinued doing the program in-house and has put it into an actual college with instructors. Speak to me a little bit about, because now RICO is reactive, but now this is being proactive and preemptive, because you're leading with education, making sure that the right people get through to hold the license and raising the standard there. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you make a good point. A rule we live by is that problem today in real estate is it's too easy to get in, and then it's too hard to kick somebody out when they break the rules. And there's nothing more frustrating. It pisses me off. And I know Simeon, you and Laura too, if you see somebody take advantage of a consumer, they rip them off, they play fast loose with the rules, and they get, a little slap on the wrist or something, right? It pisses you off. So now we can fix that, and they can be given the boot, suspended, whatever. On the education side, you're right, it can raise the bar as well when it comes to professionalism, ethical standards, modernizing the code of ethics to reflect modern real estate and the increased legalization that exists, which calls for a higher bar, for example, than we've had in the past. They can do more when it comes to continuing education as well. But the overall goal, harder to get in and easier to kick people out when they take advantage of consumers.
And I think that's a great way to go.
Oh, I would love for this exact, high level ethos of harder to get in, easier to kick them out to be effective in the mortgage industry. Because as you may definitely know, it takes all of 5 days to get your license. Yep.
I didn't know that.
All of $385 for that course. You can then get your license if you have no high school diploma. You literally only need to be a landed resident or Canadian citizen without specifically a criminal record in fraud, but you can have other records. This is the barrier to entry that we're dealing with. And then when you see the Fortress Capital scandal and how utterly botched that was by Fisco, to the point of literally having to dissolve Fisco as it was clearly deemed inept in regulating syndicated mortgages, which are very complex financial instruments. So you have mortgage brokers that were making 30% commission on these loans that they were giving to Fortress Capital. There was about $500 million of money that was lost. So that's a lot of money in loans. And there was a lot of mom and pops, like 90 grand, 50 grand, 90 grand. So that means there's like 500 brokers that are still walking around that sold these loans that have their licenses. Fisco gave them a slap on the wrist of 250 grand for losing $500 million.
Wow.
That's incredible. And do we know, did the Ontario Securities Commission take over Fisco's work? Is that what happened?
Yeah, so now FSRA can't even deal. So Fisco's gone. So FSRA inherited this mess, the Financial Services Regulatory Authority. And so that's a rebranded Fisco, but then OSFI, which is definitely harsher than a lot of other things. Basically, Jawad Rathore, the president of Fortress Capital, was kicked out of OSFI, and then he took a back road into the mortgage broker licensing. So it was just, they didn't even break that many rules just because there were so many holes, for one thing. But
So
it was absolutely, it needs a redo, right? So what we have is the Mortgage Broker, Lender, and Administrator Act, which is also from about 2002, and that's going to get an overhaul. And I'm going to be looking at what you guys have done here with Tressa and really advocate for some of that. So great work, and I'd also like to work to bring that into the broker industry as well.
Good. No, we're willing to lend a hand wherever we can. We do believe this could be model legislation for other professions, because we said first and foremost, we want the realtor at your side to be the realtor in North America, the highest professional standards, the best training, most modern tools like personal real estate corporations and access to technology. It's got to be your trusted advisor, the top of the list, right? So if that helps for other professions, we're glad to sort of share our playbook, so to speak.
Well, this is the place to share a playbook, that's for sure.
There you go.
Definitely. I mean, regulation seems dry, but we need to do so many things to improve consumer opinion of our industries. Like if you look at the way real estate agents or, loan officers are perceived in movies or anything like that, it's generally not a very pleasant light.
Well, no, I remember even 10 and 15 years ago when I first got into the business, before, like there was a lot of holes even in the real estate industry that did get cleaned up quite a bit. Mm-hmm. You don't hear those stories anymore of people with the mortgages and to putting on more and more. Like there's penalties and there's ways to prevent that, where the government went in and made lawyers notify the government of assignment sales and not being able to register on title, just many different components that were making our industry the Wild West dissipated. And it was simply by involving, like, having a multi-prong approach to the industry. So in order to do a real estate deal, you need a lender, you need a lawyer. What's the common denominator that's going to tie it all in? The lawyer. So they forced the lawyer as part of a closing document to provide an affidavit to this, an affidavit to this, to be able to report what you sold it for, etc. So all those profits and all the behind the scenes deals happening before title came into play, when the real estate was still a contract,
Right.
all those are gone. Like, you cannot get away with doing backroom deals on assignments, a deal before title without the lawyer who's going to register reporting that, a duty to report. So I think the mortgage industry is going to see vast improvement as a result of these massive headlines that were made last year with RCMP investigations and everything else. So I hope to God that they see what you're presenting here to us today. I think is big news. I don't think policy is dry at all. I think it's what makes us be regarded as real professionals, which we are. We handle literally $250 million of transactions a year. Like, I honestly don't know many people that can say that.
Personally, yeah, Matrix is 400 million in volume, right? That's just our brokerage house, and a lot of that's private, and that's on the table too, right? In terms of private sales and making.
And with such emotional value for people, right? The dollar value is huge, and then what it means to average folks is the top of the list when it comes to your own home, your property, where your family is raised. Laura, you mentioned that sometimes realtors, mortgage brokers aren't portrayed the best way in the media or movies. Well, listen, I came from politics. Before that, I used to work as a boarder. So I take a huge steps.
You're like, this is a breeze.
Up the ladder, exactly. But look, on this topic, because Simi asked earlier on how we got the prex, and I've worked very closely with Paul Taylor from the Mortgage Professionals. We've worked really hard to try to give more options for consumers, to push back against unfair policies like the stress test. It's a one-size-fits-all straitjacket. So we've had a lot of good work together. And I respect my counterpart there in mortgage brokers. I'm glad there's a lot listening to the show, because we are partners. But the bottom line in our success was every time we went to interact with politicians at Queen's Park, we had the passenger was the consumer beside us. We weren't asking for things for the sake of realtors. We're asking for things to help out buyers and sellers in the marketplace with their biggest investment. Make sure there were protections in place, accountability mechanisms. A realtor could serve them better. So whenever you phrase things like that, you're more likely to get the politician's ear. For too long, we tried personal real estate corporations saying it was a matter of fairness with other professions, which is a fair point. But there's so many other demands going through the legislature, healthcare, education, COVID these days, that you have to have something else along with you. So you look at it from the consumer's eyes, how will this benefit average everyday Ontarians? That's the secret to getting things through the legislature. Show what helps the average man or woman on the street.
I think you brought up a really good segue. We're talking about the consumer, and you brought up COVID as some of the things that are taking massive importance in shaping where we go tomorrow. I'm a proud member of the Ontario Realtor Party. And this afternoon, in fact, I got an email from your office, Tim, asking me to be a part and to be one of the drivers as a realtor. The power that we have in this system is to get in touch with our members of parliament, of provincial parliament. And I think it's very safe to say that everybody in this profession knows the impact of housing in the economy. And you're asking something that, in my opinion, is a very easy ask, and I hope it is well received by our province, is to help stimulate the economy, to help consumers by putting a freeze on the Ontario provincial property land transfer tax. So during COVID right now, when a buyer and seller are transacting, the buyer who's buying the home needs to pay in Toronto, both municipal land transfer tax and overall in Ontario, the provincial property tax. So giving that a freeze for a 6-month period to alleviate that between $5,000 and $12,000 fee that's very typical depending on the purchase price, to make it easier for the buyer to be able to make that move, to lighten up the load at the closing costs and be able to just have one piece less friction in the transaction. Tell us a little bit about the work of the Ontario Realtor Party and what can our colleagues, our brothers and sisters in the industry do to implement some of this change.
For sure. So just, back to what I was saying to Laura about always putting, beside you, the consumer, the average person on the street. What are you doing to help them out? That's what realtors do every day, and mortgage brokers too. How do you connect that with politicians? So we've been thinking, there's a lot of people because of the pandemic are out of work. There's a lot of small businesses who have had to close their doors, or they're worried they won't be able to pay for the lights, utilities, and next month with the latest shutdown going on. A lot of young people who are hoping to graduate and get a good job that are barely getting by. So how do we help them out? We said, you know what? Real estate is really the workhorse of our economy. It's a massive industry. People care deeply about it. And because we've been cooped up in our own little, prison, so to speak, these last number of months, a lot of people now want to move or improve their home. And when you buy a home, it has the most spin-offs than any other purchase imaginable, right? You're going to buy new appliances, new furniture, renovation projects, fix it up. So the spin-offs from that are almost $90,000 for a typical home purchase in the broader economy. So
unbelievable. So that's the average.
Average, right? It's be bigger in Toronto, higher priced homes, right?
And the construction industry took such a hit. So if people are picking up on the renos, that would be huge.
You got it. So we've got some ideas to say, look, the economy is in the ditch. You really need a workhorse to pull it out. And that's real estate transactions. So if you do things like a land transfer tax holiday, where for 6 months, new home purchases do not pay the land transfer tax, that's going to stimulate a ton of economic activity and spin-off jobs. We've also suggested a home renovation tax credit, that if you want to fix up your home, maybe put a home office,
Good idea.
mom or grandma into the house.
Yeah. Yes, please. Yes, please. All of that. Mm-hmm.
Hey, there you go. And it'd be very popular too, right, Laura? With a lot of folks say, yeah, that makes sense for me. But the benefit of that is then you help with the spin-off jobs, more people get back on payroll, you help out the small business person. So we're pitching the politicians to look at that, to help our economy. In 2008, 2009, our last downturn, it was really real estate that kept our head above water, so we can do it again. So if you want to help out, to all your viewers, go to OntarioRealtorParty.com. Again, OntarioRealtorParty.com. Sign up and send a message to your MPP. By your postal code, we can figure out who he or she is and tell them that you like these ideas, because they're going to help get people back to work and help those people who are suffering right now.
Yeah, and to those who don't think this works, I remember doing this exact same thing for Tressa and for the Personal Real Estate Corporation on at least 6 or 7 occasions through the decade. So reminding and poking the new MPP as they got elected and changed. Hey, I know the last guy didn't get it done, but it's up to you to get it done now. And poke and poke and poke. It is their duty to represent us in what's important to us.
For Nestle, the Nestle water situation.
Hey.
I have filled out 100 petitions.
Yeah.
Can you stop giving Nestle our water for 0.000003 cents per million gallons? Like, what? Stop.
It worked. It worked. They ditched. They ditched.
Sure.
Enough bad press.
The water thing is not on our hit list as much as land transfer tax, tax credit.
But yeah, this is doable. It's something people really want, and like everyone really wants, and it would really help everyone. So we're going to make sure to have that hyperlink all over the place.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that sounds great.
One more important point here to this too, because Simeon, you talked about how you've gone at the wall many times and it finally worked. The wall broke down and we got personal real estate corporations. Politicians will respect realtors and mortgage brokers a lot. So if they get something from you, they're going to take it seriously. And you know why? Because they see realtors are out there in the community constantly. They're always the ones sponsoring events, or the ones that are volunteering for the women's shelter, the local hockey team, the local school council. They know how much they give and they're hustling. They're always in the community. Politicians are like that too, in terms of they're always out at events. So if they hear from a realtor about something that's important and helps with the broader economy, they're going to take it very seriously because they know that you're very active helping out people in neighborhoods across the province. So please do it. I was there 21 years. I've now escaped the asylum, but I know if I got something from a realtor, I took it seriously because they know the community and they work hard for it and roll up their sleeves.
And I do agree with you. And the biggest thing that we preached to our team internally at the REC, and this is something that myself and Laura spoke to regularly through our Brokers Playbook episodes, is to if you want to expand your business and build your business, you have to do what you're naturally good at. Brokers, realtors are typically extroverts and community leaders. They want to be, we all have similar qualities, from wanting recognition and giving and helping, to be looked at as a community leader. Leading this type of initiative to help the consumer be able to do better, to stimulate the economy and see people prosper, is precisely an initiative anyone can very easily get behind. Absolutely. So I'm very passionate about this stuff because I want to see my neighborhood prosper. I want to see our province prosper. And this COVID business has, at this point, now dragging into 6 months, 9 months plus, has all the potential to really F stuff up in the next 6 months if it were to go on this trajectory. So anything that we can do to help is something that I'm going to be passionate about. And anything that we can do to help the agenda of the people leading our industry, like OREA, like TREB, like CREA, we're all over like white on rice. Laura, did you have any points further that you want to pick out with Tim?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of your successes are built on the foundation of your political career and being able to navigate bureaucracy and policy very efficiently. Apparently, it looks like you got things done in your only what, you've been at OREA a couple years now, right?
Yep. Before in December.
Okay, so I mean, looking forward, now that you've already got these two major initiatives done, what do you think you can do for the growth of the industry, sort of moving forward?
Yeah, I'm gonna say three things on that. Number one on our list is continuing with TRESA and implementing the regulations. As folks remember from their civics classes, there's legislation is kind of like the skeleton, and then the regulations are the flesh. So personal real estate corporations were made legal, but not until October 1st do we know the details. So next on the list, specialty certifications. So just like lawyers, right? Lawyers can practice law anywhere in Ontario, but they tend to specialize: labor, family law, criminal, whatever. So we too say, you know what, realtors should have specialty certifications if they want, to recognize, you know, all of the homework, research, education that realtors put themselves through to be, say, a commercial realtor or waterfront or senior. So that's top of the list. Giving RICO more powers on the enforcement side, as we said, and modernizing code of ethics. That's also coming down the pike as well. Number two, we really want real estate to help Ontario's economic and confidence recovery. We talked about land transfer tax, both in Toronto and Ontario, and a renovation tax credit. We really think that by spurring more real estate activity, we can help out average families and get more people back to work. And number three, you know, a constant effort to raise the bar when it comes to professional standards and ethics, to make sure that when we see, you know, some of these incidents that have happened in the past, we shut them down and get people out of the profession who are breaking the rules, and reward those who are following the highest standards. Ultimately, there's a big impact that we can make going forward. It's to raise the bar on professionalism and ethics in the sector, to make sure if anywhere in North America, we've got the top notch here in Ontario.
That's amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, for someone on the front lines, the average, you know, salesperson, broker owner, how can they get across to their market, their consumers, and their team your messaging, right? How can they display to their clientele that they are of this higher standard? Should they be looking into getting some of these specialty certifications in the future? Should they be putting together a newsletter with the things that you're recommending for legislative changes?
Yeah, all of the above. And, you know, throughout this COVID crisis, It's great to be back on your show. And I visited, I think, about 50 some different brokerages, well, virtually through Zoom, right, to speak directly to members. Those watching, including some mortgage broker events. Happy to come in and talk about the programs that we have.
Absolutely, we'll have you.
Very exciting is obviously both you, Laura, and Simeon, very interested in public affairs. A lot of your audience right now are probably volunteers in 2, 3, or more different local organizations. So we actually invest in the skills of our members to do an even better job. Public speaking, making a presentation, running a good board meeting, understanding a balance sheet. Maybe they want to run for public office someday, be on the hospital board. So we have leadership courses to reinforce those natural skills Simeon was talking about, so you can give back to your community and also further develop your business and your interests.
That's incredible.
Yeah, they're good.
That is absolutely awesome. Laura Martin, what a great question to bring this all out. Good job. Good job.
So they pay me the nothing bucks.
Yes, girl. They pay you the nothing bucks. It's so good. Tim Hudak, I can't thank you enough for giving us your time. I know it comes at a big premium with what you guys are working on, so I truly appreciate it. It is our honor to have you on, and we will do our best to push your agenda forward, to be as big of a help as we can be in bettering our industry, in improving conditions for consumers. And of course, we always do the best job we can for our clients directly, keeping those ethics and all those everything in line to their best interest to represent them the best that we can. As far as I'm concerned, thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it.
No, my pleasure. And thank you, Simeon and Laura, both. Thank you for what you do to raise the bar in your professions, the awesome team that you make, and how you get the message out through the show. I'm honored to be on, so thank you very much. And if we capture folks' attention, I know, Simeon, you're big on this too. We have a really good speaker series coming up. I'll be interviewing Premier Ford about the COVID pandemic and how real estate can play a role in our recovery. I'm going to have Prime Minister Brian Mulroney on the show. For those like American politics, we have some really good leaders there that'll talk about the upcoming election and what it means for Canada. So we can throw another slash up at OntarioRealtorParty.com/speakers-series.
Cool.
So I can tell you that myself and Bobby are registered.
Good.
Bobby's behind the scenes. He can definitely hear you. But we were there. That's kind of where we met in person last year when we saw George W. Bush talk about the state of the U.S. politics, and Doug Ford was there, and the minister of who was the lady that was there? I can't remember.
Our timber minister that did Tressa, Lisa Thompson.
Lisa Thompson.
Right?
I was talking about the minister of housing. The Honorable Clark was not there.
Not last year, no.
No, but it was Miss Thompson that was there. She did a hell of a presentation. This was right before it went to Queen's Park.
You got it. So I'll interview her too and ask her about Prex and why that was priority for her. So I think that'll be interesting. And then we always make sure we have representatives from all the parties. So Stephen Del Duca, the Liberal leader, Andrew Horvath, the leader of the opposition, and the NDP leader, and Mike Schreiner, the Green leader. It's fantastic. All of them are going to be on our show. And it's spread out over 4 weeks. So you don't have to sit through a long day. You can just watch the content an hour, once a week. So I hope folks will tune into the Ontario Realtor Party Speaker Series.
Awesome. So we'll definitely push that through, and hopefully it's a big show for you guys. All the success. Again, for myself, thank you so much. Truly appreciate you, pal.
My pleasure. See you soon.
Thanks, Tim. You're a game changer.